again to continue with The Lady Precious Dream by Hsiung. My voice isn't best right now because I started reading and then I realized the thing didn't start recording. So I'm going to start again. This video won't be as long just because my voice can't handle it. For about 10-15. Okay, His Excellency, where was it? Okay, Wang says, order the gardener, Hsiung Pei, to come here at once. Attendants, yes, Your Excellency. One attendant goes to the left entrance and calls, His Excellency orders the gardener, say Ping Hui, to come here at once. A voice off stage, His Excellency orders will be obeyed. From the left entrance emerges a plainly dressed young man, Hing Pei Hui. As we have heard, is a man of deeds rather than of words, and we find that it would not do him justice if we vainly write to describe his merits. The audience may be left to find out for themselves what kind of man he is. So far as can be seen, he is really handsome. His gait and gestures show that he is brave as he is reliable. An open book in his hands shows that he is learned and diligent as well. He comes forward and makes his bow to the audience. Say says, I am your humble servant, Say Ping Hui, once a beggar, now the gardener to His Excellency the Prime Minister Wang. There is very little work to be done here, so I'm always reading, hoping to make up time I've wasted in my youth. He shows us the book he was reading. I hear that His Excellency is calling me. Let me go inside and see what are his orders. He puts the book down his back and turns around, and kneels before Wang. Your humble gardener Hsiung Pei begs to report himself for Your Excellency's orders. Wang, I want you to remove that rock up to the center. Madam says, I will serve as a table, you see. Say says, very well, Your Excellency. He gets up, tucks up his sleeves, and raises the so-called rock over his head, walks around the stage 3 times, and puts it down in the center. The others are looking at him with amazement. Is that all right, Your Excellency? Wang says, all right, you can go now. Precious says, all of us, and especially General Wang, thank you very much. Say bows. That will do, you may go now. Say says, thank you, my lady. He bows again and goes. Wei says, that's nothing. I can easily remove a rock 10 times larger. Wang says, attendants! The attendants say, yes, Your Excellency. Wang says, serve the feast here. Attendants, yes, Your Excellency. An attendant takes a straight wine... I'm so sorry. An attendant takes a tray with a wine pot and some cups on it and puts them one by one on the table. They all rise. Their chairs are moved to the 3 sides of the table, the front being unoccupied. Wang says, Precious Dream, my dear daughter, serve the wine. Precious Dream serves the wine. Madam, my honorable sons-in-law, my dear daughters, please drink. They all put their cups to their mouths with their right hand and cover them with the sleeves of their left hand. The men throw their heads backward, showing that they drink and leave 2 heel taps, whilst the ladies only sip their wine. Wang says, the wine is excellent. Now once more. Precious Dream serves again, and the same business is repeated. In the meantime, 2 chairs are brought forward and put at the right and left of the front of the stage. Then 2 old men with long beards wearing the Taoist garments and headdresses enter from the right and the left. They have each a black flag rolled up in a right hand and a horsehair switch on the left. They are assisted to stand on chairs, and then they unroll their flags, when small white pieces of paper fall from them. Having done this, they descend with help and retire by the same entrance by which they entered. The chairs are then removed. Wang says, what a beautiful scene the snow makes. Having wine and snow, we must also have some poems to celebrate the occasion. Who is going to write them? He looks inquiringly at his sons-in-law. Su says, I am a very poor scholar, my dear father-in-law, and I must ask you to excuse me. Golden says, Father will of course excuse you. Wei says, although I am known as the most brilliant scholar, my dear father-in-law, I regret to say that I can't write poems without a pen, inkstone, and paper, and it would be cruelty to send any one out for them in this fall of snow. So I will write some poems at home tonight and present them to you tomorrow. Silver says, yes, tomorrow. Wang, well pleased, says, very good. Precious says, it happens that I have brought pen, inkstone, and paper with me, so you needn't postpone the matter. She turns to her maid. My maid, hand pen and inkstone to General Wei. The maid, taking them from her long sleeves, says, yes, my lady. To Wei, she says, Here you are, great general. She puts them in on the table before Wei. Wei says, thank you, scratching the back of his head. I am rather sorry to say that I am not in the right mood for poetry now. I remember some poet said, to write good poems one needs perspiration. It is very cold now, you see. We can't expect any perspiration until the summer comes. Wang says, perspiration? You mean inspiration. Wei says, oh yes, inspiration. He wipes his forehead with his sleeve. Not perspiration, of course not perspiration. Silver says, I know you didn't mean perspiration. Precious says, if it is only perspiration that you need, then you must be the greatest poet of the age. Wei, thinking she is paying him a compliment, says, oh, thank you. Silver says, for shame to chaff my dear one like this. Sue says, may I make another suggestion? They all assent. I remember having heard the gardener Sei Ping Hui sing beautiful songs in the street, and I was told they were composed by himself. Wei says, Golden says, yes, I remember too. Wei says, no, I don't think he composed them. Wang, yes, he did, and that's why I took fancy to him and I gave him the post of my gardener as a just reward for his talent. Wei, relieved, says, truly you are the most just prime minister in history. Now let him repay some of your kindness by entertaining us with his songs. Silver says, yes, if he really can. Wang says, attendants. The attendants say, yes, your excellency. Wang says, order the gardener Sei Ping Hui to come here again. Attendants say, yes, your excellency. An attendant calls them to come. In a moment, Sei is kneeling before Wang, waiting for orders. Wang says, that was my cat going crazy, don't mind her. Wang says, as we are drinking wine and enjoying the snow here, we find we need a little poem to celebrate the occasion. As I've heard that you are somewhat of a poet in your own way, I order you to give us one of your poems. Madam says, yes, give us one. Say, if your excellency will excuse my being forward. Wang, certainly. Say says, I must beg to point out to your excellency the fact that I am one of your laborers and my duty to your excellency is limited to labor. Wei says, hurrah, bravo, I said he couldn't. Silver says, so did I. Sue says, wait a moment, what do you mean, Sei Ping Hui? Golden says, tell us candidly. Sei says, if it is not my labor but my talent you want, then I must beg you to treat me as a gentleman and I must be invited, not ordered. Wei, impossible, what impudence. Silver says, the man ought to be thrashed. Precious says, why? This is most reasonable. A real poet must not be treated as a workman. Why shouldn't we treat him with the proper respect? Wang says, well, to show that I am a just man, I will give you a seat in the corner and request you to write a short poem of your 4 lines on the subject of wine, snow, and poetry. If your poem proves to be good, I will give you a reward. If your poem is bad or you can't write at all, Precious says, then I think my brother-in-law Wei will excuse him on the ground that he needs a little perspiration. Wei says, no, I'll have him punished for his impudence. Silver says, that's exactly my view. Wang says, yes, that is. Do you hear him, man? Sei says, yes, your excellency. He gets up and calls, Attendants, bring me pen, inkstone, and paper. And in brackets just says, sensation. So I guess it's just people just running to get him stuff. Wang says, really, this is too much. Precious says, why, this is but the true attitude of a poet. If no one will bring you what you want, allow me. Before anyone could stop her, she takes her own chair to him and prepares pen, inkstone, and paper for him. She takes the piece of paper in his left hand and writes it in with. He takes the piece of paper in his left hand and writes on it with the right. Say, reading as he writes, wine brings double cheer if snow be here. Snow takes a brighter weight from song's delight. Ah, but when cups abound and song is sweet, and snow is falling round, the joy is complete. Here you are, your excellency. He hands the piece of paper to Wang, who takes it. Wang says, reading aloud, wine brings a double cheer if snow be here. Snow takes a brighter weight from the song's delight. Ah, but when the cups abound and the song is sweet, and snow is falling round, the joy is complete. Well, it is very good indeed. Sue says, yes, very good. Wei says, I don't think so. I could write a better poem. If I had a little perspiration. No, not perspiration, he wipes his forehead again. A little inspiration. There is no one to chaff him because Precious Stream is secretly humming the poem. Silver says, yes, you only need a little inspiration, dear. Wang, to say, says, all right, thank you. You may go now. A reward will be given to you later on. Madam, I will order the steward to give it to you. Say, bowing, many thanks, your excellency. He retires. Wang says to his wife, you see, my dear, our family needs a poet. When we want to celebrate on occasion like this, we find that none of our family can write anything. This is why I'm anxious to choose a husband for my dear Precious Stream. Precious Stream hangs down her head. Those suitors whom I have approved all write first-class poems. Precious Stream raises her head. All the poems they have shown to me are excellent. Precious says, my brother-in-law Wei also used to show you very good poems before he married my sister. Wei says, I can still show you good poems if I am allowed. Silver says, yes, I am sure he can. Precious says, I would like to see you write them in my presence. Wei says, impossible. Silver says, impossible. Wang says, how unreasonable. But these young suitors are also all rich and of high birth. Indeed, one couldn't find anyone better than they are in every way. Madam says, my dear child, don't be headstrong. If you follow your father's wishes, we will all be grateful to you. Sue and Golden say, indeed we would be. Wei says, the quicker you get married, the better. Silver says, take my advice. Trust your father's judgment. Precious says, your marriage is an exceedingly good example. Silver says, yes, it is. Precious says, since you all seem to be determined that I must marry one of those young suitors, may I ask you, dear father, is one of them rich and noble? Wang says, yes, certainly. Precious says with a sly look, are there not one or two among them not so rich and noble? Wang said hurriedly, no, none. They are all quite equally rich and noble. Precious says, then, dear father, how can I choose? By choosing one, it will be unfair to the others. To be fair, I think I must refuse them all. Wang says, oh, he puts his hand to his forehead. Madam says, you have outwitted your father, dear child. Golden says, very clever indeed. Silver says, very silly. Wang impatiently says, I won't have this nonsense. Although I can't find out who is the best man, you must find out yourself and make your decision before your next birthday. We are going to have a wedding then. Precious says coaxingly, dear father, you are prime minister and therefore the most clever man in the kingdom. Wang is rather flattered and looks pleased. Then the most clever man in the kingdom is at a loss to say who is the most suitable. Then how can I, a stupid young girl without any experience, make a decision? Madam says, "That's true." Golden says, "Yes, dear father, it's quite true." Silver says, "No, when I was young, I was neither stupid nor without experience." Wei says, "Why don't you refer the matter to the Imperial Councilors so that they may hold a conference to discuss and decide it?" Sue says, "Nonsense. Our father-in-law will settle it sooner or later. In the meantime, let us drop it." Precious says, "Thank you, dear brother-in-law." Wang says, "I think I have a very good plan for settling it." All say, "Marvelous! How clever! So soon!" Wang says, "Listen, my dear, on your birthday, the 2nd of February, there will be a festival. Let us build a beautiful pavilion here in the garden and let all the suitors come beneath it. You in the pavilion take an embroidered ball and throw it down from the pavilion. Then the one who catches it will be your bridegroom." Precious says, "Is that a wise way to settle such a problem?" Wang says, "It is the only way, and I am quite determined." Madam says, "It's romantic too." All say, "Yes, very romantic." Precious says, "When even careful judgment is not sufficient to settle a problem, is it wise to settle it by lottery?" Wang says, "It will not be a lottery, it will be will of God." Wei says, "The suitor who is hit by the embroidered ball can well call his case one of the force majeure." Madam says, "I see, whenever a dramatist finds a situation which cannot be dealt with by mortals, he asks the help of God. We always turn to God when we are in dire distress. Now that we have put our responsibility upon God, shall we retire?" Wang says, "Yes, let us retire." They all stand up, table and chairs are removed. Wang, preceded by 2 attendants, and Madam, preceded by 2 maids, retire. Sue to all, "We have some business at my house. If you will excuse us." He and Golden Stream retire. Wei, "Now, dear sister-in-law, allow me to give you a little advice." Precious says, looking back and pointing to the corner, "There is a rock 10 times as large as one used for our table. I think you said a moment ago you could lift you could lift such a rock with ease. Now will you please?" Wei, taking hold of his wife's arm hurriedly, says, "I think we have some important business waiting for us too. Good morning." He runs away with his wife. Precious says, pacing the stage, "What shall I do? What shall I do?" At last she sits down in the middle of the stage. "My maid, ask the gardener Sei Ping Hui to come to me." The maid said, "Yes, my lady." She calls Sei, who enters by the left and kneels before Precious Stream. Sei says, "May I know your orders, my lady?" Precious says, "Stand up, please, my maid. Provide a seat for Mr. Sei." A seat is provided at the side. Sei says, "How can I sit down before you, my lady?" Precious says, "The best manners is obedience." Hey, sitting says, "Then I must thank you." Precious says to her maid, "My maid, go to my boudoir and fetch some 50 taels of silver for me. Go as quickly as possible and return as slowly as possible." The maid said, "Yes, my lady." She goes very slowly. Precious says, Precious Stream says, "Mr. Sei, I know now that you are a man of both high literary and military abilities. I wish to help you, but first of all, you must tell me about your family." Sei says, "Thank you, my lady. Do you really want to know about my family? Well, I am of a very poor family." Precious says, "That I know. I want to hear about the members of your family." Sei says, "My father and mother are both dead." Precious says, "I see. Is there anyone else in your family?" Sei says, "Being poor, I only had one father and one mother." Precious says, "I mean those of your generation." Sei says, "I had a brother who died at 5. I have no sister." Precious says, "Did any of your family marry?" Sei says, "Yes." Precious says, taken aback, "Oh, who?" Sei says, "Well, my mother married my father." Precious says, relieved, "Of course. And your brother?" Sei, "As he died at 5, he did not marry." Precious says, "I see. Well, and did your parents have a daughter-in-law as well?" Sei says, "No, they had none." Precious says, "Then you're not married?" Say, of course not. Precious says, are you by any chance betrothed? Say says, no. Precious says, then I have something to tell you, but I find it hard to do so. Well, do you understand riddles? Say says, a little. Precious says, on the 2nd of February it will be my 16th birthday, and I'm going to marry the man who is hit by the embroidered ball which I shall throw down from a beautiful pavilion to be erected here. It will be a case of the will of God, but I have resolved to take it into my own hands. I have in mind a suitable person. Now this person, if you look far, say, continuing her speech, says he is 1,000 miles away. Precious says, yes, and if you look near, Say says, then he is before you. Precious says, thank you, that is exactly what I mean. Ooh, she wants to marry the gardener. Say, if I had any bestows on me such an honor, I will never fail her. Precious says, the maid is returning. Not another word. Be sure to be present on the 2nd of February. Say says the 2nd of February. The maid, appearing and proffering something to Precious Dream, says, here you are, my lady. Precious says, not taking it, give it to Mr. Say. The maid does so. Say says, thank you. He gets up, bows, and goes. I'll never forget your kindness, the 2nd of February. Precious says, rising to retire, let's retire to our boudoir and wait for the will of God. The maid says, the will of God, she giggles. We retire. The stage is cleared and the erection of a beautiful pavilion is commenced. Okay, so this is starting the next part. I'll continue this next time. My throat's getting sore. And I can't talk for very long. So this is part 2 of Lady Precious Dream. Thank you for listening.